Hello my lovelies, I hope you're all doing really well and I hope you're all staying safe out there. Firstly, I just want to quickly say I'm trying out some new equipment and for Christmas my boyfriend got me a ring light and some bits and bobs and I'm trying to do some videos in the evening to see how the ring light works. And I've just noticed that these ring lights really pull up on your wrinkles and your bags, and it's just one of those things. I'm going to have to deal with it, so I'm really sorry if this video isn't the best quality wise or if I look too bright. I'm still tweaking, I'm still playing around, so if you could bear with me on that, that'd be great. And if anybody has any advice how to use a ring light properly, that'd be great too, because I'm really struggling and I have really bad skin anyway, so I'm just trying to work it all out. But anyway, today is Sunday, so that means it's time for Slaughter Sunday with Sally. My name is obviously Sally, and what I do is I look at some true crime cases or conspiracy theories or urban legends or ghost stories, and I talk about them. And some of you have been giving me some super suggestions, so yeah, that's what we do here. So if that interests you, or if you're slightly obsessed or even just a little bit intrigued, or you just like my British accent, then please remember to hit that subscribe button so you'll get notified every time I upload a video. I upload most Sundays, sometimes things happen and I can't upload, but I always go onto my social media and let people know why or if I'm not. But yeah, also if you see any of my videos over on my other social medias, please remember to like, comment and share. That way more people see my videos and the better my channel will be, and I really would appreciate that. It would be great. A lot of you already do that and I love you for it, but if you could do it more, because I'm a wee bit greedy, then that'd be great too. Thank you. But that's it. So let's move on, jump straight in, crack on, however you want to say it, into today's case. And the last video I did was the Black-Eyed Children, which was a ghost story kind of thing. I don't know what you thought about that. I actually really quite enjoyed doing it, but you know, it was just something different and I hope that was okay with you. But this week I am going to do a true crime case, and today's case is a case in England. I'm back in England again, finally, because I keep going over to America, but no, I'm doing a one from the UK today. And this one was actually suggested on a Facebook post that I did by a friend of mine. I can't remember who suggested it and I'm really sorry, I'll see if I can tag you. But they suggested that I did the case of the Twilight killers. Have you heard of them? People in Britain may have heard of them because it was not that long ago and it was quite a big case because one, the age of the killers, and two, the weirdness of the case in general. But if you don't, we can look at it today. So the year is 2016 and the place is Spalding, Lincolnshire, which is in the UK. I'm also from Lincolnshire. It's quite a big county. There's lots of rural places and lots of farms and villages and some other bigger places too, like where I live and Spalding. Spalding was the home of a single mother called Elizabeth Edwards and her two teenage daughters, Kim, who was 14, and Katie, who was 13. The family had had difficulties. Liz and the girls had actually fled from their family home because Liz's husband and the girl's father was abusive and he was a drunk and he was a drug addict apparently. So the family had actually been living in women refugees for a while, and then they finally got this home in a little council estate, I guess you could say, in Spalding. However, the family still did have a few issues, primarily around the oldest daughter, Kim. Kim was a jealous teenager, I guess. Realistically, she was probably a normal teenager initially. So she would think that her sister was getting more attention off her mum, and she hated her mum for various different reasons. One of the main reasons that I was able to find is that when Kim was younger, herself and her mother got into a fight over the television or something to watch on television. I'm not 100% sure, but it ultimately ended up with Liz punching her daughter Kim in the face. Liz obviously was very upset by her own behaviour, and she actually called social services on herself and told them that she couldn't handle the children right now and the girls needed to be put into care. And they did for a few months, but ultimately they would return to their mother. But this seems to be the start of Kim's real hatred for her mother. And in a way I can understand. I mean, your parent is meant to be there to help you and to guide you and to be your safe place. And in that initial moment, Liz laid her hands on her child, and Kim would obviously have resented her for that. And in a way, I don't blame her for that instant, but it got to a very serious point that it didn't need to get to. So after that moment, Kim was very much, she felt like the black sheep of the family. She resented Katie because of all the attention she got, and she would continuously tell people about how much she thought her mum hated her, and the feeling was quite mutual, to be honest. It's also said that Kim and her mother argued constantly. Liz hated the fact that her daughter was so disobedient and so rude, and she couldn't really understand why Kim was behaving in this way. Although Kim was quite vocal about the reasons that she didn't get on with her mother, and she was quite vocal about why she resented her sister, I don't think Liz really caught on to the fact that it was as serious as it was. Spalding was also the home to a young man called Lucas Markham, and he is in the same age category as Kim. At the time of this crime, he was 14 years old. He also had a very troubled childhood. When he was 5 years old, his mother was addicted to drugs and such, that he ended up being taken into care as well. And then he ended up living with his maternal aunt, basically for the rest of his childhood. And also during this time, his mother actually died of leukemia. So he had a really tough childhood. I couldn't imagine losing a parent as young as he was. I don't think he ever managed to find a way of being able to live with that grief. And he kind of resented the world. He was angry at everything and everybody. And that showed. By the time he got to secondary school, he was a very angry person. He would lash out, he would attack. He ended up going to the behavioural place inside the school. It couldn't be handled in class. And actually, the first time that he and Kim had an encounter was during an argument that Lucas was having with one of the teachers, and he threw a chair across the classroom. And Kim later says in an interview that this is actually something that really attracted her to him, which I find odd, but young girls do like the bad boy sometimes, and she did. And they got together and they started talking, and initially they became friends. But this very quickly moved into a relationship, and it became a toxic, dependent relationship. They both felt like they were missing something and they were outcasts of the world, and they very much said in their interviews that it was them against the world. And like I said, they became very codependent on each other, and they ended up having a sexual relationship too. So even with the initial attraction that they had to each other and the magnetism that they had, they ended up being more dependent on each other, because I don't know about anybody else. I mean, people do say this is true, but the person that you lose your virginity to just become a very special person in your life. Even if you never ever see them again, they do become a very special, it becomes a special moment in your life, and you kind of become infatuated with that person sometimes. And that's exactly what happened here. They became infatuated with each other, and they were deeply, deeply in this together. It got to a point where they couldn't ever be apart, and they would be together constantly. But Liz, Kim's mother, did not like this relationship. She thought it was too codependent, and she wanted Kim not to be with someone like Lucas, because she had heard of the anger issues that he had and the type of person that he was. And as a mother, Liz felt like he wasn't good enough for her daughter. So she tried on multiple occasions to stop the couple from seeing each other. It even got to the point where she would go into the school and make the school aware of this situation. and make it so that they weren't allowed to see each other in school either. This obviously was a massive issue to Lucas and Kim. They were besotted with each other and they didn't want to be apart from each other, and nobody was going to step in their way, essentially. And this just grew more and more of a resentment towards Liz. But now also Lucas was in, and he also resented Kim's mother for trying to keep Kim away from him, because Kim was the love of his life and he wasn't going to have anybody stop him from seeing her. However, Liz wasn't having any of this. She told Kim under no circumstances is she to meet Lucas. She banned him from the house, she banned Kim from seeing him. But obviously, kids can be quite sneaky, and Kim would sneak out to meet him. She'd meet him at the park, and she'd even meet him at the bottom of her garden. They always found ways to meet each other. There was also this special spot where they used to go, which was near a canal. I can't remember the name of the canal. I'll try and see if I can find it. And they would meet there. And what strikes me the most is that the places that they used to meet, because they used to meet there and at a local McDonald's, are not the most romantic of places, but these places became very much a part of their story, and they would sneak off to these places to rendezvous, to go behind their families' backs and meet up, and like a Romeo and Juliet situation, I guess. In March of 2016, Liz had obviously told Kim she couldn't see Lucas anymore, and they weren't allowed to see each other at school, and this really affected Kim. Kim hit a breaking point, I guess you could say, and she was very low and very depressed, and she actually attempted to take her own life, and she was hospitalised. She did survive, but this was a real switch for Kim and Lucas completely blamed Kim's mother for this. It was her fault that his lover had tried to take her own life. And then while she was in hospital, she also changed her profile picture on Facebook to a very sombre picture, a very sad picture. She's not smiling anymore. And it was just basically the start of the downfall, I guess. A few days later, Kim was let out of hospital, and her and Lucas ran away together. The police were obviously called, and they were found just a couple of towns away, and they were living in a tent. And it was very childlike. When they ran away, they took a bag of food and they took their tents and they ran away on their bikes, and they didn't get very far. It was like two children running away from home. That's exactly what it was like, and that's exactly how it looked. Obviously the police did find them and they brought them home. Not long after they were returned home, Lucas and Kim met up secretly again, and they ended up going to Lucas's house where he lived with his aunt, and they barricaded themselves in his bedroom. And they weren't coming out, no matter who attempted. Everybody attempted. His aunt, Kim's mother, friends, family, they all attempted to get the couple to come out, but they wouldn't. However, after a few days, Kim realised that she needed her contraceptive pill from home, so the pair decided to climb out of Lucas's window and head to Kim's house. However, once they got to the house, they realised that Liz, Kim's mum, had completely emptied all of Kim's belongings out of her bedroom. And Kim also noticed that some of her belongings had been given to her sister. Now this is the real point where she snaps. This is the straw that broke the camel's back, I guess is what people say. She was furious that her mother had essentially erased her from their family lives and given her prized possessions to her little sister, who she already resented anyway and thought got more attention. Now her mother had given all her stuff to her. This just angered her, and this is the point that the pair, Lucas and Kim, decided that they needed to end this completely. And this is where they started initially joking about killing Kim's mother and killing Katie. It started off as a joke, but they soon realised that this is actually something that they wanted to do. So by April of 2016, Liz was a valued member of the community. She was working at a local school as a dinner lady. She also volunteered for the church. She had met a new man that she had been seeing for about 10 months. His name was Graham Green. And Katie was a year 8 at the same school as the one her sister attended. She was very popular, she had many friends, she was very pretty. But Kim, by April, was angry. She was at the point in which the plan that she had made with Lucas was about to come together. They had met on several occasions and planned out every single detail. The plan was for Lucas to leave his home at his auntie's house, and he would travel down the canal or the dirt track that led from the front of his house all the way round to the back of Kim's house. And the plan was then to climb up onto the scaffolding because they were having an extension put on, and then he would knock on the bathroom window 3 times and Kim would come and let him in. She cleared the shelf, everything was ready to go. And on the 11th of April, which was a Monday, and it was after school, it was late in the evening, they set this plan in motion. Lucas left his home, went down the dirt track, climbed up the scaffolding, knocked on the window 3 times. Nobody answered. Kim said she fell asleep. Now, this to me is strange. She is either, one, a complete and utter psychopath, where as in she had no feelings and she wasn't worried and she was so relaxed that she managed to fall asleep, or two, she wasn't actually comfortable with this plan and she wasn't asleep at all and she was just backing out and she was too afraid to tell Lucas. It was one of the two, there's no in between for me. Anyway, obviously that night nothing happened, so they met the day after and they discussed the plan again. Kim said how sorry she was for falling asleep, it wouldn't happen again. So that night, on Tuesday the 12th of April, the same thing happened. Lucas left his home, he walked down the dirt track, went to the back of Kim's home, climbed up the scaffolding, knocked on the window 3 times, and again nobody answered. Again Kim said she had fallen asleep. And again you have to question, was she asleep and is she a psychopath? Or was she too afraid to do it? We will never know because she hasn't said. She just said she still sticks to the story that she was asleep, which weird. So again, nothing happened and the couple met again on the Wednesday and Lucas asked Kim many times if she 100% wanted to do this. I think even he was getting a bit suspicious of the fact that she kept falling asleep. And she kept saying, yes, I promise you, we need to do this, we need to kill my mum so we can be free, so we can be happy. So again, on Wednesday, the 13th of April, Lucas did the same. He left his home, he walked down the dirt track to the back of Kim's home, climbed up the scaffolding, knocked on the window 3 times, but this time, Kim was there, and she let him in. Lucas had packed 4 knives. Once he was in the bathroom, he took all 4 knives out of his bag. We know that Kim picked one up because her fingerprint is found, but it's only found on 1 knife and it's found on a knife that has no blood on it. They discussed their plan and then Lucas emptied Kim's mum's bedroom where Liz was asleep, soundly asleep, and he stabbed her in the throat through her voice box. And the reason in the later interview he said he did this was so she couldn't scream and wake anybody up. And then he stabbed her a couple more times in the neck, in the chest and in the hands. And it's very clear that she tried to defend herself because of where the stab wounds are. She fought valiantly for her life, and when she'd gone unconscious, Lucas smothered her with a pillow. At this point, Kim entered the room to see how it was going, I guess. She wasn't going in there to see how her mother was or to try and save her mother. She went in there to see how Lucas was, because, you know, he is the love of her life and all that. And when she entered the room, her mother was dying, I guess. She said she wasn't dead because she heard some mumbling, but she basically waited for her mother to die. And then it became the point where they decided they were going to kill Katie. Now, the original plan was for Kim to kill Katie. She was going to get in and kill her little sister, who, gentle reminder, is only 13 years old. But watching her mother die, and she said the smell and the feeling in that room gave her an anxiety attack and she couldn't go through with it. So Lucas decided that he would step up and go and kill Katie. So he entered Katie's bedroom, which he shared with Kim, and essentially did the same thing. He stabbed her and smothered her with a pillow until she was dead. And then it gets a bit strange. So after that, after the pair, the mum and Katie were both deceased, Kim and Lucas stripped off all their clothes and had a bath together. clearing away the blood, making themselves clean, because they were worried that the dog would be able to smell the blood on them. I don't know why that would be a worry. And then Kim got her mattress from her bedroom. Bearing in mind her sister is laying dead in the bed next to it, she got the mattress and she took it downstairs and laid it in the living room. They then spent the next 36 hours eating ice cream, eating tea cakes, having sex and watching the Twilight films, which is why they were called the Twilight Killers. And also, Twilight is kind of metaphorical. A lot of people have said, a lot of criminologists and psychologists who have looked into this case have said, if you look at Twilight, it's about two young people who shouldn't be together, that want to be together, and one of them is a monster and he has to kill people to get the woman that he loves, and it's very similar to their real life. So as I said, they stayed in the house with the bodies for 36 hours. It then got to a point where people were starting to notice that the family was missing. Lucas's aunt reported him missing, and that started an investigation at the school because people started to also notice that Kim and Katie both hadn't been at school, and also Liz, the place where she worked and the place where she volunteered, she hadn't shown up in a few days and she hadn't called in sick, and obviously her boyfriend had been trying to contact her. He wasn't getting any answer either, so a police investigation was launched. The police went to the home of Liz, Kim and Katie. They knocked on the door and they heard the dog barking, which isn't suspicious, I don't think, but they did manage to gain entrance. When they got into the home, they found Kim and Lucas in the living area, seemed to be having a really good time, and I would guess initially the police were actually quite happy that they found them, a bit of a relief that they were fine. But when the police asked Kim and Lucas where Liz and Katie were, Lucas pointed upstairs and said, "Why don't you go and see?" And that's a bit weird. Which is very strange. The police did pull up on that in court and in interviews of how callous that was. Obviously the police did. They went upstairs and they found the two decomposing bodies laying in their beds where they had been stabbed to death. Kim and Lucas were immediately arrested and questioned. Now, the questioning, Kim is very, very flat. She's very blasé about everything. She even goes as far as saying that she's happy that her mother is dead, and she gives very odd reasonings. For example, she said that she's glad her mother doesn't have to suffer anymore because Kim herself continuously wanted to kill herself, and she didn't want her mum to wake up one day and find her daughter dead in bed. Unusual. She also said that she killed Katie because she didn't want Katie to have to deal with the fact that their mother was dead, or if Kim tried to kill herself, that she would have to grieve for her sister. So she said she did it as some kind of kindness to them. But she never ever once showed remorse, and she never said sorry for what she did. She always maintained that she was happy with what she did, and she felt at ease of the words that she actually said. Lucas initially refused to talk, but eventually he did talk and he told them the entire story. It matched completely with what Kim said, and he again was very straight to the point, very direct. He went into a lot of detail about the murders. You have to give them credit where it's due. Neither of them lied. They both told the truth as far as we're aware. They admitted to their crimes. However, they did only try and plead guilty for manslaughter. The community was very shocked and very angry. A lot of people were saying that we should have the death penalty in England because of the callousness of their crime. The issue I have with this is they are children. They're evil children. They're nasty children, and potentially they could be psychopaths. But it's hard to say at such a young age if they are psychopaths or not, because their brains are still very immature. And in fact, if you listen to some of the interviews and some of the things that they say in court, you can really see their immaturity. And they don't seem to understand that there are consequences to their actions. They don't seem to get that. They seem to think that they're going to plead guilty to manslaughter, serve a few years and then be released. They're very immature in the way that they're thinking. But regardless, they went to court and they were found guilty of first-degree murder, and they were sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 17 years before they could apply for parole. Now I'd like to hear your opinions on this. Do you think that was enough? Do you think that was too much? Because again, the topic of mental illness has been brought up in this case, as it is in many cases that involve young children. The fact that they're 14 is absolutely shocking, and I'm not saying it's not. It's scary. They're children. It's really, really scary that children could do something like this. But again, a lot of psychologists have said, and even criminologists have said, their brains aren't fully developed and they didn't really understand the consequences of what they did. Kim and Lucas have never, ever, ever expressed remorse. Obviously, they've been in prison a few years now, and it's going to be a while before they're released. And we might never know if they're remorseful, because they're not allowed to have interviews in prison. So we don't know. Currently, at the time when they were sentenced, they both seemed pretty happy with their decisions. Now that they're separated, I'm really interested to see how things are going, I guess. They're not in that toxic relationship anymore. They can't have contact. All their letters and phone calls are monitored. They're obviously not allowed to talk to each other. So I'm interested to see how they're doing now that they're separated, because their relationship was, like I've said, very codependent and very toxic. And I'm interested to see what they would be like now. Obviously, it's obvious that if the pair of them hadn't come together, this crime probably wouldn't have happened. It is 100% down to the fact that they were in this kind of relationship. And that's really sad to think about. So yeah. So that is the case of the Twilight killers. I hope I didn't talk too fast, and I hope you followed. Again, I'm sorry for the way I look. I hope that didn't put you off too much. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. Give me some followers, give me some subscribers. I'd really appreciate that. But I'm going to leave it there now, and I really, 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 really hope you have a really good day. Remember, stay safe, don't kill anybody, and just be good, okay? Have a good life. And I'll see you in the next one. Love you guys.